Hello guys, here is a 1940s Eskimo fan. It's a model number 1100J and it's rated at 40 watts. I got this fan as a Christmas present 2 days ago, and I've been wanting to get one of these for a while. I've seen one of these fans at an antique store, but it was at a ridiculous price. I think it was at $55 for it. I mean, that's a reasonable price for a GE or a Westinghouse or an Emerson, but for a little dime store fan, that price is pretty ridiculous, especially for the fact there's quite a bit of paint loss on it. But I'm so glad I was able to get this. Yeah, I saw this fan at that antique store a year and a half ago, and I did not have a job at the time, so of course I wasn't able to afford it, but now that I'm older and have a job, I can now afford stuff now. And there were two other cool fans that were there. I think there was a 1920s GE fan with the brass blades, and there was a 1920s Westinghouse fan. It didn't have brass blades, but I think it's had the micarta blades. If you are a vintage fan collector, you know what I'm talking about. But this fan right here, I had to do two things to it. Number one, the cord. I mean, this was probably been replaced at some point, but the connections that were inside were very poor. It was basically they twist the wires together and insulated them with electrical tape. They did not even solder the connections. And that's a really bad connection because, first of all, electricity, when you think about it, causes tiny vibrations. So if you don't solder those connections, they're going to become loose over time. And electrical tape has a tendency to dry out and become brittle over the years. So that is quite a dangerous connection to make. Another thing was the plug was broken, so I replaced the plug on it. The plug that was on there before was one of those cheap bake-like plugs with the paper insulator on them. I don't really like these, so I just replaced it with this plug. At least this plug's reinforced a little bit because you don't have any copper showing. Whereas the other plug that was there, the paper does tend to degrade over time, so it can show some copper, and that's not safe. So this fan right here has no switch. You just plug it in to turn it on. However, since this cord I suspect is not the original cord, I am thinking of adding a switch to it. If this is the original cord, then I'm not going to do that because I don't really like messing with the original stuff. But if I know this cord's been replaced, then I will add a switch because I don't like unplugging it and plugging it in because not only is that annoying, it does wear and tear to the outlet. So anyway, let's plug it up and see how it runs. Now I added some oil to it, and it runs beautiful. And even though it's cheap, it still runs just fine. And I know there's guys in the fan community that are like, oh, these are worse than today's Walmart grade fans. That is a bunch of baloney. Because the cheap Walmart fans would not be running 70 or 80 years from now. And the cheap fans of today are all plastic and are brittle. This one's all metal. The motor is still a good quality. Like, don't listen to those people. That is just a bunch of baloney. These will probably last another 70 or 80 years, if not more. The cheap fans or cheap anything of today, or really anything made today, you get lucky if it lasts 3 years. So it's a good little fan. Like I said, much better than this cheap garbage you buy now. Unplug it. And I also had to tighten up that center thing right there, whatever this is called, that black thing, because it was very loose, so it made a rattle sound. But thankfully, in this case, I was able to get a pair of needle nose pliers and just tighten it up, and the racket went away. I don't really like the design of this little thing because it does have a tendency to get loose over time, and very rarely is it ever fixable, but in this particular case, it was. Anyway, I'm gonna close out the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and more to come later.